My name is Dean Vallone. I'm the president of the Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners. I'm calling this regular meeting of Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners to order as of February 12, 2024. Proof of publication is available for review for this meeting. We begin our meetings with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll pray. We pray this day to give thanks for all the many blessings bestowed upon our township. Watch over us who are entrusted with the administration of this township. Create in us the earnest desire to serve faithfully and permit us to experience the joys of noble service completed for our residents. Encourage cooperation from those who are served and from those who serve. Help us to use every willing service and every effort put forth for good government. Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance to help us as commissioners to make the right decisions. And we ask that you aid our staff as they perform the daily tasks of running our township. And we request that you be by our first responders as they protect our residents and see that they return home safe at the end of each day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our meeting, both in person and those who are joining us via the live stream on YouTube. This evening, I'm joined to my far left by Commissioner Schwartz, to my next left to Vice President Karen, and Commissioner Brown to my right. And joining us remotely this evening is Commissioner Nagy. And for the public's reference, it's our understanding through consultation with the solicitor and our experience in the past that a commissioner can be remote, cannot constitute a quorum for the Board of Commissioners being remote, but can participate if a quorum is present as usual. So our meeting will continue as usual with the 5 commissioners present. First order of business, commissioners, will be the approval of our meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2024. We received the meeting minutes in our packets this past week, and if there's any corrections or notes to be made on the minutes, please do so. Otherwise, I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. President, if there's no changes, I make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2024 minutes.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Brown, and I have a second from Vice President Karen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on our agenda this evening is audience participation. This is where, if you're joining us and would like to participate on any business item we have on the agenda this evening, feel free to let us know now, and we'll have you come up to the dais when that item comes up. Seeing none this evening, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Any commissioner, staff member, or anyone in attendance who would like to have an item on the consent agenda removed for further discussion can request so now. Is there a request to have any item removed on the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, I'd be seeking a motion to accept the consent agenda this evening.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Brown, and I have a second from Vice President Karen. Is there any discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, under the President this evening, I'll be looking to accept a motion to approve a manual check register of January 23rd, 2024 in the amount of $650 for Eckert, Siemens, and Charon and Milat.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Brown. I have a second from Commissioner Schwartz. Is there any discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Is there an abstention?
Yes, Mr. President, I need to abstain on this motion as it is in reference to a payment to my firm.
Noted. The motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Next, I'd be seeking a motion to adopt Resolution 2024 R06, appointing Maxwell C. Schertzer to the position of Maintenance Specialist in the Public Works Department effective February 13th, 2024. This is a budgeted position and fills a vacancy due to retirement.
Would be my honor, Mr. President.
I have a motion from Commissioner Nagy.
Second.
I have a second from Vice President Karen. Is there any questions or comments or any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Nagy. I got you this time. Next, I'll be seeking a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-R07, appointing James R. Bennett as planner in the Community and Economic Development Department effective February 26, 2024. And as we know, this is a newly created position that has been budgeted for 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Schwartz, and I have a second from Commissioner Brown. Is there any questions, comments, or any discussion on Resolution 2024-R07? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, any business pertinent to the township can be brought up at this time. If you're here to bring any business pertinent to the township, you may come to the podium and begin your discussion. Seeing none this evening, we will move on to Public Works and our Public Works Director, Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 items on the agenda for this evening for discussion. Item 8A would be to accept a motion to approve for our staff to prepare and advertise for bid specifications for our 2024 paving and infrastructure project. There's 2 parts to this project, A and B. Included in your packet were detailed maps showing the limitations of the paving that we are looking to perform, as well as the handicap ramp replacement or in some cases installation. That was a grant that the township received through the CDBG funds through the county. So I'm looking for permission to get this project advertised so we can start looking to accept bids and award the project.
Okay, Commissioners, questions at this time? Did you get that, Commissioner Nagy?
I did, Mr. President.
Okay, great. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments? So, you're looking for action this evening to get this rolling?
Yes, Mr. President, if you're so inclined to do so.
Commissioners, if anyone's so inclined to get this moving for the director?
Mr. President, I would move to approve staff to prepare and advertise bid specifications for the 2024 paving and infrastructure project parts A and B.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Schwartz, and I have a second from Vice President Karen. Is there discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda tonight for discussion and possible action would be to purchase the following pieces of equipment for the Public Works Department. The first would be a Toyota forklift in the amount of $27,288. The second piece of equipment would be an Exmark diesel zero-turn lawnmower in the amount of $24,774. In the memo in your packet, I detailed some information regarding the purchase of these 2 pieces of equipment. Mr. Reynolds is here if you have specific questions about the reason for especially the zero-turn mower and the issues that we've been having over the years with that lawnmower. He's here if you have specific questions. We are looking to transfer money that was originally budgeted in our parks account for LA-15, which we did not end up purchasing. We repurposed a vehicle, and now we have those funds available to purchase these 2 items. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have tonight regarding this.
Thank you, Director. Commissioners, do you have any specific questions? right now. What I'm going to do is thank you, Mr. Reynolds, for joining us. I really appreciate everything you do for the township. If you would just give us, from your perspective, come up to the podium, just give us from your perspective the kind of the lowdown on these two purchases and the, the useful nature of them, and as you see them fitting into the plan in the next several years for Lower Allen.
Yeah, the original forklift is a 2001. It has served us well in this purpose. It's one of those pieces we use pretty much every day. However, in I'd say the last year and a half, is starting to give us some issues where we need outside vendors, being it's LP propane fired engine. We don't have any knowledge of that, so when that does happen, that gets rather expensive to have the vendors come in and repair that on the forklifts side.
Right.
The replacement on the zero-turn mower is replacing a Ferris mower that has issues with the engine not starting when it's hot out in the summertime when we really need it. It's actually the second one and the exact same problem. We've given one in 18, had problems, and I actually got them, negotiated with them to replace it. However, it's the same exact year, and not knowing the engine was the exact same engine, we had the same problems this last summer on it. Forklift, again, a 2001, it should last quite a while. We're up 20-some years right now with the old one, so I see no reason why that wouldn't last. And the new zero-turn mower, it's diesel versus gas, so the longevity of it will be much better.
Right. So grateful that you take the initiative to repair things to the very end on all of our
Yeah.
equipment. And I know that we probably get more than the useful life out of many of our assets in public
Yeah.
works. But I do have a question just with regards to buying new equipment. So I'm kind of selfishly asking because I know you've kept things alive, so to speak, a lot longer than maybe their useful life in the past. But now as we start to buy newer equipment, I hear stories out there about farm equipment and things like that being so new that it becomes difficult to actually repair them without, turning to tech companies and things like that. And I'm just wondering how that might play into our future purchases or even these.
It's starting to
Is
evolve
it?
that way
Mhm.
right now. However, we do have some capabilities with some new tools that we had just purchased in the fleet department to combat that. Some of our recent purchases were that we can plug into those particular machines and find out the problem without calling that vendor in.
Mhm.
So that really has really helped us that part as far as repairs of it.
Yeah.
But it has come, it's coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and I think that's something good to know now and get some of these discussions going, because maybe in the future budgets, we should start looking ahead for, planning for that. And, grateful again that you were willing to take the initiative to be forward-thinking with that stuff. Thanks. So Commissioners, at this point, if there's any questions, I would go ahead and continue the discussion now. Or, they're looking for action if anyone feels so inclined for these items.
Yeah, just to be clear, so this is a purchase that was going to be in lieu of the truck to replace the LA-15?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay,
The money we had in that truck, we were able to refurbish the truck that was actually going to replace. So therefore, we had that money budgeted. That's what we're using to buy these two pieces.
Mr. President, I'll go ahead and make a motion to purchase the following equipment, the Toyota forklift for the amount of $27,288, an Exmark diesel zero-turn lawnmower for a total of $24,774. With gratitude to the fleet maintenance and public works for putting in the efforts to refurbish the other vehicle to allow us to be able to purchase these.
second.
Thank you, Commissioner Nagy. I have a motion for both of these purchases, and I believe the Secretary was able to record them accurately, from Commissioner Nagy, and I have a second from Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion, questions, or comments? Seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last item I have on the agenda this evening is for discussion and possible action. This would be for a township commitment of funds for the Community Development Block Grant Program, that's CDBG program. We are looking to apply for ADA improvements in the Ross Moines Manor development. In my memo, you probably saw there's 64 handicap ramps to replace. Budgeting brings that project to $435,000. We're looking at matching 50%, so our commitment would be $217,600. If we would be successful getting the grant, the funds would not be spent until, and the project would not be bid until 2025.
Commissioners, question?
Question I have, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I spoke with Director Davis earlier about it, but I'll kind of voice what I'm thinking. When we did the grant for the Beacon Hill project, we kind of got surprised at the end when we got much less than we were anticipating. And that's I love this idea, and I appreciate Director Davis's forward thinking on it. Actually, I think we should do it. I have no hesitations against it. I just think we have to be cautious in if we get the grant, but unfortunately find out we got much less than we anticipated, just knowing that going into it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good comment, because we're starting to experience that now. I think the funds coming into the state and perhaps the federal government aren't necessarily less, but they're spreading them out to more projects these days. And so our vigilance on that's good, for sure. So Commissioners, any further questions?
Well, so this is just like a logistical question, I guess, but if the funds are not going to be needed until 2025, is this something we would then budget for in the fall? So
Correct.
would we budget for the full amount or for the half that we have to
We
commit?
would budget the full amount and
The
show
full amount.
the the
Okay.
half on the, correct, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any? Yes, Commissioner Schwartz?
Director Davis, I was curious, I have two questions. So compared to the paving project that we just dealt with a couple motions ago, in terms of dollar amount, approximately how does this compare? Because I know that there was some stormwater component to that.
Yeah, that contract was a $2 million contract, but it was paving the lower end of Highland Estates, handicap ramps for both developments, and a significant amount of stormwater infrastructure.
Okay.
Mhm.
And this
So
one,
we're looking at, this would just be the handicap ramps. For this development, I'm hopeful to have the road rating data back soon for McMahon, and my initial review of that data shows this development as one of the areas that would require resurfacing for sooner than other areas in our municipality. It didn't rate very well through that system. So our hope is to jump ahead of these projects, start with our ADA ramp replacement. As you're well aware, in my memo, I stated that we have to upgrade those ramps when we pave an intersection. That's required. So we have to make them legal. So if we can get in there, we've already done some preliminary television work, stormwater television work in Rouse Point Manor to see what we need to replace in there, get the ADA ramps replaced, and then hopefully come in and pave so we don't rip up the development 5 times or 6 times in a few years, but once in 2 or 3.
great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
you were anticipating my second question. So shooting from the hip, do we know approximately how soon those roads should be repaved? I know that,
It would be, in my opinion, when I looked at the rating data that came back so far, I'm meeting with McMahon next week, it looks like that would be maybe the second neighborhood on the list to be resurfaced.
okay,
Mhm.
all right, thank you.
Mhm, yes. Right behind Highland Estates, I think.
All right,
Mhm.
nice.
Commissioners, any other questions? 'Cause if not, I have one for Director Grove. Can you just explain to us, so we got a color in how the funding model would be for this, even looking at the 24 budget into 25? Or not in the 24 budget, but our budget planning in 24 for 25?
Yeah, when we come around to September, whenever it happens to be, I believe we would know, wouldn't we, if we're gonna,
So last year, we found out mid-September that we were successful with this.
Okay.
So Highland Estates that I just asked to bid, I'm sorry, Director
No.
Grove. Highland Estates that I just asked to prepare the bid specs for the ADA, we were awarded grants last fall for that development. So that's 50% covered through CDBG funds. So I would think we would know by mid-September, Director Grove.
Right, so we're making the, we might have some insight before we actually budget for the commitment that we would make.
Yes, you would
But
have
as
to.
far as actually where the money's gonna come from, should it all be successful, because we're gonna budget, it sounds like, the full amount if we did. So I'm just curious to know if we wound up, worst case scenario being, on the hook, so to speak, for the full amount, where do you anticipate this coming from?
I've actually looked at that. Of course, I won't be here, but there is money that would involve some decisions by the board that I don't really think we want to get into
Okay.
tonight, but there is the possibility of money to fund just about all of our cut, if we're awarded all of it,
Okay,
without having to raise taxes or to really draw down
Yeah.
on fund balance much.
yeah, and thank you, I wasn't even looking for, I just wanted to know if you, I'm getting the feeling like you have a plan, should this
Yeah, when
proceed.
you're looking at big money, Director Davis and I always work in advance so that we're not cornered and, embarrassed.
Gotcha, that's good.
Does the liquid fuels money cover ADA improvements?
They-
So that could
We
be a
can
possible
use
source.
liquid fuels money for ADA ramps, we
Okay.
can. We don't have to, but we can. Then there's different audit requirements if we do that. But good question, Commissioner. The funds, this funding source and this grant opportunity only became available a few years ago for these ADA ramp improvements. And prior to this, we were paying for it, with no grant opportunities. So I feel fortunate that the program's available for us to apply for. We've been successful, so my hope is that we're successful again.
Great, thank you, Director. So Commissioners, the question to us tonight, should we decide to take action on this evening, is basically making a commitment through action. And then, of course, as we've discussed and heard, pieces to that puzzle fall into place through, maybe the end of this year into 2025.
Mr. President, I'll make the motion to approve the commitment of funds for the CDBG application for the ADA improvements in the Ross Moyne Manor development.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice President Karen, and I have a second from Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion, questions, or comments on this motion?
Mr. President, is that sufficient as stated? Because with the detail in the memorandum, as far as the motion goes?
I would probably ask the solicitor that question.
So the motion was a commitment of funds, that's what you stated, and that's,
Do you
What
need
we're
a,
looking for
do you need a
authorization.
specific dollar amount?
I don't, I was just asking.
I didn't think
to
so.
make sure.
Mhm.
Okay,
I would not give a specific dollar amount at this point. You're
okay,
Paint
That-
yourself in a
that answers my question.
Okay.
Perfect, okay,
I feel comfortable with that.
perfect.
Right. And we have a documented memorandum, and
Okay.
our discussion will be recorded
Mhm.
appropriately, I'm sure. Is that good, Commissioner?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Director Davis.
Thank you so much
for
for
all
your
the
time
hard
this
work you
evening.
put into this stuff. Moving on to Community and Economic Development.
It's me.
Mr. Vernal.
Put that hat on. The first item there, under Community and Economic Development, is a financial security reduction request for the Trinity High School Auxiliary Gym Project. We have received approval or a letter of agreement from our engineer indicating that a reduction of $56,374 would be in order. That would leave a balance for them of $9,536.90, which is several things, 3 or 4 things that still need to be done. And that's going to also necessitate an extension of the the time limit for that. New expiration date of next February 12th.
So Commissioners, our documentation that was given to us through staff from the engineer Ritu, I felt was really, gave good explanation. And so what they're asking for is evident in that correspondence. So I would assume this is pretty standard and boilerplate for us to.
Yes. They asked for a full reduction, but with the 4 items outstanding yet, the engineer only recommended this amount, $56,374, and retaining the other $9,500 till those additional things are taken care of.
Roger that.
And Mr. President, just to clarify, or maybe Tom can answer, this is the building that you can see from the road, right? The new building that we
Correct.
just,
Yes.
which seemed to appear overnight, which
It was a
Went up pretty quick.
It was a
Pole
pretty.
barns go, well, I shouldn't call them pole barn. Pole barn type structures go up pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a question for Director Davis then. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with the new building or not, but I know that at different points that we have witnessed water coming from that site and coming across and creating a problem at Peters Park. I don't know if maybe this is the place to address that or not, but I think that's something that we're probably gonna have to address with Trinity at some point in time.
Yeah, I don't think this situation would be where we'd address it. They did put a best management practice associated with this building that they're infiltrating. There's no runoff coming from this construction, but if there's runoff coming from past impervious coverage, it may be a site visit and something that we need to look into if there's erosion or other problems happening down Gettysburg Road.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that problem seems to be getting worse and worse
Yeah.
as time goes by, and
They did
can't say this
mitigate,
made it worse, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not getting better.
they did mitigate the runoff created through this construction with the best management practice. We're hoping that functions well, and we will monitor that, but thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. If nothing else, I'll make a motion to reduce the financial security for Trinity High School Auxiliary Gymnasium in the amount of $56,374, leaving a financial security balance of $9,536.90 to expire February 12th, 2025.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Brown, and I have a second from Commissioner Schwartz. Is there any further discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I beg your pardon, Commissioner Nagy, I keep jumping the gun. Moving on to item B.
Item B, 9B, we have on the Cedar Run Business Park Plan, the owner is granting a 60-day extension to render a decision on the final SLD plan for their project up there. They have a couple of comments that need to be addressed before they bring the plan to the Board of Commissioners. Right now, the board must render a decision by April 8th, 2024 with the extension.
So the extensions usually benefit the township because it gives us more time.
It's a mutual thing usually. Yeah, we're ready, the board's ready to review plans pretty much at any of your meetings.
Yeah.
But the developers are not always ready to bring it fully, especially if there's a lot of comments by the planning commission.
Okay. So what it would be, and I don't think we've been under any circumstances since I've been on the board where we've rejected the extensions. In fact, in many cases, we've prompted the discussion. So you know, of course, on these things, and this is general, probably not even having to do with this specific one. If we didn't, then we would just have to make a decision on basically an incomplete plan, which that decision probably wouldn't be able to move forward in a positive, right?
That's correct.
Right, okay, got it. Commissioners?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to accept the 60-day extension for the final subdivision and land development plan for Cedar Run Business Park.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Brown, and I have a second from Vice President Karen. Is there any further discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to the township manager,
Switching over.
as he switches
Switching
gears.
hats. We wanted to bring up an idea to the board. It was born by a couple of different objectives here. One of them would be that we right now have Ben Peters, who's full-time employee working under the Public Works Director, working on the outside of the locked door because he's taking over the intern's office. So that was one concern. You know, we didn't want him to be a second-class citizen. He should be in with everybody else. The second concern was public access to the kitchen. So there were a couple of ideas that were bandied about regarding walls and things like that. I think the one everybody's settling on that makes the most sense would be to, I wish I had this thing up on the thing to show you, but picture right over here, the wall where the door is coming from the intern's office would come out about another 10 feet or so, and then a perpendicular wall would come out from this area right here, just between the kitchen door and where the fire extinguishers are. And the two of them would meet, create like a pocket. The key lock door would then be moved to face that way. And we would still be able to have people use that room at night by simply locking the inner door, which wouldn't be locked most of the time during the day. So at night, that door would be locked, so they couldn't get into the hallway, but they could still use a key card to get in through the main door. But the kitchen access then would not be open to the public. And then, when they do the polling in here, we'd have to make some arrangements, obviously. We'd have to give them some kind of access into the kitchen through that way or something, but, so that takes care of two of our concerns. One is it puts that intern's office inside the locked door, and number two, it removes public access to the kitchen.
Okay.
And for the full work, Scott Emerson, he priced it out, and he came up with about $700 worth of materials with him doing the work, him and Andy doing the work.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions about this proposal? I imagine we would just maybe give a voice consensus on this? Is that what you're looking for?
Well, because of the dollar amount, you don't really have to. You can, obviously, it doesn't hurt anything if you want to
Right.
give direction. I was mainly concerned to see if anybody really hated this idea and just was totally against it.
Well, I guess that's the question. Is anyone against it?
I had the luxury of having Mr. Manager here give me a little guided
Good.
vision of it.
Picture, if you will.
A little bit ago, so it made sense to me at the time.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I think the only thing I was thinking of when you mentioned the polling, is there anyone else that we'd have to give access to other than for the polls twice a year, or is there any
The polling
other
people, they're the
complications?
only ones that specifically ask for kitchen access
Okay.
because they're here all day. They bring their own food, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We do allow, for example, the probation office uses that room in the evenings for their meetings. The TOPS folks use that room for their meetings once a week or whenever it is, once every 2 weeks. So they would have a key card access to the main door that would give them access into the conference room. once they're inside there, they have access to the kitchen. There's not gonna be a locking door in the kitchen, so
Right.
if they get a key card into the main room, they got access to the kitchen.
In my thought is, I mean, staff is here all the time, and I think that you know best how things would function with both the public and the administrative accesses. So I trust that, you know, the judgment on this is right, and I think from what I understand of it, there's no harm.
If we run into any unforeseen snags, we'll take care of it.
Okay, that's good to know. So without any objection, commissioners, or any further discussion, if there's anything to clarify, I think we can just give the manager direction to proceed.
Sounds good.
Is that okay? Okay.
Thank you. The final thing I have tonight is, I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, because it is still a House bill, it is not hasn't been enacted, but House Bill 32, which would, something we were looking for several years ago, since Township's the first class of the only unit of government in the state that could not levy their own stormwater fees, although our lobbyists tried like heck. We went ahead and had the board form the Stormwater Authority so we could go through all that. If Act 32, or I'm sorry, House Bill 32 goes into effect, the township, the commissioners would be able to do that themselves. We wouldn't need the Stormwater Authority, although that's a discussion for down the road, because they do a lot of good, and, you know, I think it's helpful to have them. They just, at one time, they were a necessity. If this bill is passed, they will not be. So you have to make a decision at that time, whether you want to continue with the Stormwater Authority or not.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or any added discussion with this? My only comment would be, from the beginning out, I mean, I was here when we were mandated to create an authority essentially as a first-class township versus a second-class township, when we began the study and that to roll out our stormwater program and our stormwater fee. I think we did a pretty good job of it, and we were fortunate to have a very functioning sewer authority that was able to allow the stormwater authority to kind of, for lack of a better term, piggyback and to kind of meld into their operations with a couple of slight adjustments where there were some conflicts and all that. And right now, it's my understanding that the stormwater authority meeting is after the sewer authority meeting usually, and that it acts, unlike the stormwater authority, it acts more of a financing authority, right?
Correct.
And so, when I got wind, you know, with this piece of legislation, my first thought was, you know, kind of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But again, that's a discussion for later, what we want to do. I think there was some hesitation early on what it would be like to just have another authority, but this one seems to be functioning pretty good. But I would also like at some point for the, you know, the sewer and the stormwater authority to weigh in, maybe when the board starts having that discussion down the road. Is that cool?
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to commissioner reports. Before we go to commissioner reports this evening, I just want to confirm at the end of the meeting, when we go into executive session for our two items, is it anticipated at all with either of these two items that we would come out with a need for action?
No.
Okay, so after commissioner reports this evening, it's my intention to adjourn the meeting to executive session. So we'll start commissioner reports this evening with Captain Deven.
Nothing tonight, sir. Thanks.
Captain Crone.
Yeah, just a public recognition. We have a Patrol Officer of the Year award that the way that works is each month the squad supervisors submit one of their officers for Patrol Officer of the Month. And then annually, all of that is added up. Each of those submissions has certain weight, and at the end of the year, we have a Patrol Officer of the Year. This year, that was Officer Katie Just, and you'll get a little more detail on that in the monthly report for next month, but she definitely earned that this year. She's been very proactive and just doing a super job, and kudos to her.
Okay, thank you, Captain. Solicitor Deal, thank you for joining us this evening in place of Mr. Minor. So anything to share?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sterling,
Nothing to report.
Director Davis?
Just a brief announcement. I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that Barbara Arnold applied for a Susquehanna River Basin Commission grant and was awarded a $5,000 grant for an educational workshop with West Shore Rec. Mr. Stauffer, the kids from the summer program, she'll be doing an educational session with them and pairing with YBWA along the creek, and some litter cleanup and some canoeing. So we're excited about that, and then congratulations to Barb. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Director Grove?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Ms. Greenwald? Mr. Manager?
Couple of things, just let the board know, I did an interview with Logan Perone, I think is his last name, the reporter for Channel 43. He wanted to do an update on our solar panels. He was the guy who was here covering it when we threw the switch. So he wanted to do like a 6-month follow-up, so we talked a little bit about that. And it's going to be a filler sometime later in the week. Right now, he said everybody just wants to get storm coverage on TV, so he said he'll let me know when they're planning on running it, so I can let you know if in case you want to watch it,
Okay.
just see where we're at.
Well, that's a neat coincidence, because when I get to my commissioner report, I have a question about the solar panels. So, thank you. Is that it?
The other thing was just, I can give you a quick tutorial on the chairs after the meeting. They do a lot of things. They-
I
they-
love them already.
They go up and down, they slide in and out, they adjust the arms, and there's actually lumbar adjustments in the back that you
They're
can.
not heated, though.
I know, we priced those out, and they said Eckerd
No
Siemens
thanks.
bought the last ones.
Commissioner Nagy, you
I
have no
abstain.
idea what you're missing.
I abstain.
I go remote for one meeting.
I'm telling you. How about Commissioner Nagy? Do you have anything for us this evening?
No, Mr. President, thank you for indulging me remote tonight. Thank you to Secretary Sterling for handling all the details of it. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted to say as the liaison to the Sewer Authority and the Stormwater Authority, I would just like to say that when the time comes, I think that Stormwater Authority does a very good job. They work well together, and the LATA, they just received a $350,000 grant for the Cedar Run Interceptor work. It was an ARPA grant, so just wanted to say that was excellent job, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Schwartz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Recently, I attended a Recreation and Parks Board meeting and got to hear about several events coming up soon, including Easter egg hunt coming up in, I believe, March, a gardener's gathering that I think is scheduled for sometime in April, and the Yappy Hour for dog owners that they are shooting for in September. So they are hitting the ground running in the Recreation and Parks Board. So a lot of fun activities coming up. I also was able to attend the Legislators Breakfast hosted by the Harrisburg Regional Chamber and CREDIC. I actually sat with Representative Kutz and was able to speak with both he and Representative Delosier and others, and got to hear about their various legislative priorities and talk to them about, what sorts of things can, improve conditions for residents and, sort of make things a little bit easier for municipalities in our position to provide services in the best way possible. So looking forward to, exploring opportunities like that in the future. And it was a great experience. So, and also this past Saturday morning, I attended the Cumberland County Department of Public Safety newly elected officials training, which was very extensive and detailed, and had a lot of information to it, but was also very interesting and was worth it. So I was glad that I attended, and that is all. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice President Karen?
Thanks, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that I attended the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners Executive Committee session. It's like a mouthful. But and Dean, President Valone was there as well. But on Friday evening was the actual meeting of the executive committee where business was conducted. And then we actually spent most of the day on Saturday, which was February 3rd, out in Pittsburgh, basically having a strategic planning session about the Township Association and the first-class nature of, obviously, how we're differentiated from the Township Supervisors Association, and we really explored the vision and the future of the association. I thought it was very helpful and beneficial, and hopefully lots more to come on that topic for first-class township associations, which we're a part of.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it this evening?
Yes, thanks.
Great, yes. First, I'll just start off with thanking our staff and all the folks in public safety and public works and administration for all the hard work, finance. Tonight, hopefully, there's less snow than anticipated, but I'm real confident our folks will be out there and doing what they need to do to keep us dry as possible and on the roads and safe. So thank you in advance for all your hard work and time that will go into this event coming up. Yes, you're locked and loaded, I understand. That's great. Good to hear. Thank you, Commissioner, or Vice President Karen, for the update about the PSATC. Yes, it is a mouthful. One of the strategic planning efforts, I think, is to reduce that mouthful a little bit, at least to some degree. And I believe some good came out of that time this past week up over there. It was a good strategic planning session. The thing I'd like to add to Vice President Karen's update on that is we are also, when we go to those, as usual, given legislative updates by our Secretariat, Pennsylvania Municipal League. They do a fantastic job coordinating and stuff like that for us to have legislative priorities. So we, as a executive committee, decided, the legislature's right now a little sluggish, and this session for the 2023-24 session, it seems a little sluggish for obvious reasons. And we all felt that the 2024 legislative priorities pretty much need to just carry over from 2023. So that was my understanding in the end, that we basically approved our legislative priorities to be the same as the 2023. So when we go into lobby, I think it's in April, we'll be lobbying on those priorities that are now our 2024, but you can find them easily by following PSATC on the website or PML and see what they are. Yes, and we have a new website for PSATCs, and I'll share that with the commissioners offline here. I don't have that in front of me, the website address. But we'll get that, and there's some good things coming out of that. Other than that, again, thanks everybody for a good meeting. We will go to executive session here shortly. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yes, thank you, Mr. Manager, for reminding me. I didn't put it on this note. It's on this note, and I didn't look at that one. And I actually spoke a little bit about it with Director Grove before the meeting. When I was signing the checks this week for the township to pay our bills, and I noticed we have an electric bill still of, it's pretty healthy, but I'm understanding it's a lot less than it used to be. And I just want to know, for the public's reference and for ours as a board, we installed the solar panels. We're saving huge amounts of money, and I'd just like to know, and Director Grove, I think, is going to maybe give us a little bit of a brief on it. How does our current electric bill fit in to what we had anticipated putting the solar panels in our long-term plan?
January and December and February, for that matter, aren't very good months to look at, especially now with all the cloud cover. I mean, the panels thrive on direct sunlight. And at this point, there is no reason to think that things won't turn out exactly like planned, especially when you look at the earlier months. It will take a little bit of time to be able to say that more definitively, but I think we will be able to say that as time goes on. We will not be able to say that just by looking at these current months.
Okay.
I can give you some,
Yes.
what we've been generating, if that will help.
Yeah, like, so on a monthly basis, let's just assume the sun's shining, and so are we actually, because my understanding, we were turning back electric, or we're most likely gonna be turning back electric, that's how we'll be having significant savings in the future, right?
The solar array that's out at the Public Works facility is, they sell all the generated electricity back to the grid. We get a credit for that on our bill. We had to pick a bill to apply it to, and it's this building, because it's the largest user. So that's how that works. The array that's down here feeds directly into our building. So this is a kind of a two-tiered process. The solar array down here reduces our electric bill, and then what we generate out there credits the bill.
Okay.
So the idea is if we generate more than we actually need, then we bank that. If we generate less than we need, then we still get a bill. We
I
pay
see,
it.
right.
The generation, so this array down here went into operation in June of '23. Our highest month was July, and followed by August. We generated about, from this site, almost 30,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. That's just in 1 month. So between July and September, taking the 3 months into account, we were between 25,000 and 30,000 kilowatt hours generated. If you look at the last 3 months, not so great. We're looking at 7,000 or 8,000, because that's what I told Logan Perone today. I said, anybody that's lived in Pennsylvania for any amount of time knows that it's gray from October until March. But and we've been with the El Nino pattern. We've just had a steady river of clouds just coming right up through the country. So we haven't generated, but once we're over that, I look forward to jumping back up. Bottom line is, over an average over the year, I expect us to be where we're at. I took a look at what we've generated. Oh, I'll throw you some numbers from the other site too. On our highest month out there, which was October, we went live in September. We generated 80,000. So between the two sites, we have the potential, probably even more. I don't know. Those are just the two highest, of generating 110,000 kilowatt hours, which is close. It's what we're looking at is around 95%, 93 to 95% of our total usage, which we're targeting 95.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if we get some uncloudy years, we'll surpass that. But right now, the amount we've generated has been averaging not averaging. It's a cumulative effect of 102% of this building's usage. So far, we've kind of paying for this building, plus some of it's available to go toward the other accounts as well.
Okay.
And hopefully, we'll get up to a point where we'll cover 95% of all of our usage. That's the goal.
Yeah, and that's what was my understanding, and I appreciate the explanation. And I wasn't concerned, I just wanted to understand the fundamentals of all of it as it's starting to roll out, because the last we all kind of left it was, here's the plan, and when we turned it all on, it seemed like the plan even got better on paper. And so I was just wondering how that's rolling out. So thank you so much for indulging me in that. And then the only other question I have is on, and again, not a concern, I just wanted to know if it works just like so when Pennsylvania went to electric choice, we get to choose our supplier as a resident, right? Maybe as a business too, I'm not sure how that works. But I noticed on the UGI bill, that we get a separate bill from the supplier itself, and then UGI is just like the transmitter?
Are you talking about gas?
Yeah, the gas.
So Snyder Brothers is who they're, if you look at it like electricity, there's generation, transmission, and distribution. We pay PP&L for the transmission, which are the big lines, and the distribution, which are the little lines that go down the street. And we pay the generator, who is, I forget who that is right now, Constellation. We pay them for the generation. Gas is very similar. We're paying Snyder Brothers for sort of the generation of the gas or the supply of the gas. We pay EGI for piping it to the
Right,
homes.
and then, but they don't handle the billing like our electric companies do.
Correct.
Right, yep.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. That's all I had this evening. So again, are you glad you reminded me, Mr. Manager,
Absolutely.
that I forgot something?
I knew those numbers because in preparation for my interview with Mr. Perone, I was like, oh, you know.
The timing couldn't have been.
There's a cool little
better.
website where we can pull up the sites and actually see what's been generated and things like that. And the other cool thing about it is on the sidebar, it shows you, gives you comparables. And they don't really mean anything other than, it's like, this is worth 22,000 gallons of gasoline and
Oh, okay.
and planting 560 trees, and which is all, okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. All right, if there's nothing more for the good of the order, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Solicitor.
Just note the reason why we're going into executive session.
Thank you. We will be adjourning to executive session this evening for two items. One is a disciplinary action, and the other is the Community and Economic Development Director search. Adjourned.
You would tell me.
I remember everything except
Because
this thing.
if you don't, I won't know. I tell my
never let you
staff
do that.
too, 'cause
I would
You
never
know.
let that happen, no.
No,
It was hot in
we're
here
gonna
when
just
we
go
came
there.
in.
Yeah.
So everyone had the windows open. Everyone was sweating to death.
Yeah, it's actually kind of good by the way.
Not gonna happen.